there's nothing in the world that nature, sage teacher, and benign mother of the universe regard with greater foresight and more diligence for the preservation of the self. The idea? So thank you for coming. This is a class on Italian rapier theory of the late 16th century. We're going to be looking at the words of Capifero, we're going to look at the words of Gigante, and we're going to look at the words of Fathers. Now, there's a short biography of each one of them in the paper. In the paper, you'll also find a glossary at the back, a bibliography. I want to start off with two apologies. My first apology is that I'm going to be speaking some Italian, and for those of you who speak Italian, I'm sorry. I'm going to mangle a lot of words. There will be some soapboxes. I apologize for the soapboxes ahead of time. But this is the first one right now. This is a sword. The only difference between this sword and a sword in period is that this sword, a sword that I'd be dealing with, is that this sword is not sharp. So I'm going to ask you all a favor while you're in my class. Treat it like a sword. So please don't stand like this. You're only blending the blade. Don't stand like this. You're only stabbing your foot. Okay? Now, the reason why I ask this, and the reason why I reinforce so often that this is a sword, is because I want you to think that this is dangerous. Now, we are lucky. We live in Valhalla. We fight in Valhalla. We go, we show up, we fight all day, we live all day, we literally go to the feast that night, we go over to our beds, get up the next day, all again. However, what this leads to is some issues with the way we have chosen to interpret our class. So we have a very aggressive style. We have a style that supports perhaps not the best practices you can use in a rapier combat. So I want you to think of this as a sword, and I want you to think of this as dangerous. Be scared. When you enter into combat in the list field, be worried. Don't think, oh, well, you know, I may lose, but that's okay. Don't necessarily think, I may win, or I may get a double kill, so I'll go on to the next round. That's all not okay. When you get hit, you don't get to go home to your family that night. You don't get to see your child again. You don't get to hug your wife or husband. You're dead. Now, having said that, I don't want you to amp yourself up so much so you're like, oh, we come to be close, and we're going to grapples, and we're going to hit it with the pommel, and but I want you to be afraid of this right here. Okay? And I'm going to show you some tools on how to do that and how to think about that. But right off the bat, I want you to be worried about this point right here. Because this, as I said, is a sword. Okay? Okay. Any questions so far? All right. Let's talk about the sword for just a quick second. As I mentioned to the guards, the sword is your offense and your defense. Faber's divides the sword into 4 equal parts. The first quarter, or rather the fourth quarter the way of the blade to the hilt. The second goes halfway. The third goes from halfway to most of the way forward, and then the first part contains the point. He says that the latter 2 parts are for defense only. The first 2 parts are for offense. And for cutting, you use a combination of the first and second part. Okay? Gigante and Capifero say there's 2 parts to the sword. There's the strong part, and there's the weak part. The strong part is used for defense. The weak part is used for offense. The masters, especially Gigante, talk a lot about standing behind your forte. This part right here, your defense. When you are in a forward stance, and when you're up like this, Faber's argues that the forte has to do a lot more movement in order to cover. Okay? However, if you're in a low stance, like this, then there's less of you move your forte in smaller directions, thus giving you the illusion of speed. A simplistic movement means you're able to move and defend yourself faster because your moves are smaller and more concise. As I said, I can do this, so I can insert that here.